Ronda's awesome. I'm a huge fan of her, by the way. I love that she's like the bad girl. You know, she's just so comfortable in her own skin. I love that about her.
Jon, everyone was talking about the Muhammad Ali stuff. I want to ask you, the amount of scrutiny, the amount of attention that the media gives nowadays, how do you think Ali would be kind of perceived in today's like MMA media? How do you think he would be perceived? Because the things he says, I am the greatest, you know, you're being called cocky because you're a confident guy. Do you think he would be perceived the same way now as he was 20, 30 years ago?
I think that Ali was definitely perceived as being cocky in his prime. You know, but I think he was so comfortable with himself, he didn't care. He had to have been. I don't think people changed that much since then, and you know, I'm sure people hated when he made bold statements. But you know, what makes him respectable to me is that he didn't care, and maybe he did care, but he masked it, and he continued on with his message. And now, you know, years and years later, you know, we look back on some of the things that he said, and some of the bold statements that he's made. So, you know, if he was here today, I think he'd still be the same guy making those crazy statements. And the only difference is he'd probably be tweeting them.
Let me ask you this. There's been a lot about the whole teammate thing with Rashad. Let me flip it up on you. A great light heavyweight wants to come to Jackson's and train. He's, you know, maybe 1-0, 2-0 in the UFC. What do you say?
I would say yeah. You know, I would say yeah. You know, when I came to the UFC, you know, when I came to Jackson's, you know, I don't think Rashad ever looked at me as someone that could compete with him. He welcomed me wholeheartedly to the team. That's been well documented. You know, he lies and he says that, you know, he never wanted me to be there. And he, you know, maybe he did mention to Greg that he didn't think it was the best idea. Who knows? But when I was there, you know, he treated me well. I treated him well. He definitely made me feel comfortable. I think where the real problem started is when I realized that I had opportunity to do something, and I really focused my life and focused my dedication to the sport. You know, I used to go out and, you know, party and do a lot of immature things, and I think that's what he's talking about when he's saying, you know, you guys don't know things about me. Yeah, I go out on a drink every once in a while. I'm 24, right? So I think he looked at, you know, how wild I used to be as somebody who could never compete with him or get on that level with him. And once he realized that I've dedicated my life to martial arts and I've completely changed my personal life or private life, I've changed a lot about my private life, and he knows that. He knows that I'm not the kid that I used to be, and I think that's when the real problem came. He realized that, okay, this kid actually can be something special here, and that's when the problems really came.
Last question, the Greg Jackson stuff. Tell us the positive side, man. You deal with Greg every day.
It's crazy, dude. Greg Jackson is an amazing man. He deals with so much scrutiny, so much hatred. He's an awesome person. You guys don't realize he always takes the high road. He never gets into these debates, no matter how many people talk bad about him. You know, they yell, you know, Lyoto Machida, he's so evasive, he's so elusive, and he strikes on his own degree. He strikes when he wants to strike. When Carlos Condit does it, it's like, oh, you ran from Diaz the whole time. Oh, Carlos Condit beat the snot out of Diaz. And he moved, just the way I fought Rampage. I moved and kicked and moved and kicked and moved and kicked. But when Lyoto does it, it's okay. What I'm trying to get at is, people hate on Greg Jackson so much. You know, he's one of the best coaches in the world. You know, our team brings home more knockout of the night bonuses, more submission of the night bonus, more fight of the night bonuses than any other team in UFC's history. And that can be, you can research it if you don't believe me. And so when you're at the top, it's easy to make fun of that guy. It's easy. Everybody can sit at home on the computer and talk trash about the guy who's out there traveling the whole, he never, you know, he hardly ever gets to see his family as much because he's always caring about fighters. There's so many fighters on his roster that, you know, they make $200 to fight. And he'll travel to Japan to corner that guy, knowing that there's nothing in return for him. That's the type of guy he is. He's an amazing man who's dedicated his life to martial arts. And if you consider yourself a martial arts fan, you need to respect Greg Jackson. It's sad that people don't respect what this man is doing for the sport. It really is. I'm confident that he can take me down, but it's not a wrestling match. You know, him taking me down does nothing. I mean, when he did get me down, you know, his ground and pound was not that devastating, I didn't feel. You know, he's never even submitted anybody, you know, well, not in the UFC, I don't think. He never even attempts submissions. So I'm not afraid of being taken down at all. But I mean, him and Phil Davis had this big pride thing where it was like, oh, you know, Penn State versus Michigan, you won't take me down. Take me down, I don't care. I mean, I'm going to try not to get taken down, but I try not to give any points. I try not to get hit. I try not to get kicked. I try not to get taken down. But if he does, the fight continues. I'm not competing in a wrestling match. I mean, if he takes me down, put me on my back, and, you know, they're not going to slap the mat and call me pinned. You know.
So you weren't impressed by his ground game he showed against Phil?
No, not really. You know, Phil's a great kid, and I hate to disrespect him. You know, but he didn't come to fight that fight. You know, he was flailing, and you know, he wasn't trying to shrimp to get position back. You know, stand-ups. You know, he let Rashad have his way with him. And I'm not going to do that at all. So I'm not afraid of Rashad's ground game. If anything, he should be afraid of mine. You know, when I take people down, they open up. There's blood that's in my elbows. I'm realizing they do work. Rashad doesn't do anything but kill the clock.